enjoyed birds. Even when I was growing up, there was always chickens around. For a couple reasons. We can't bring in off-farm manure being a certified organic grower. So for me, it's a good source of nitrogen. And they also do a couple different things. I feed the chickens any kind of grain that we dispose of here. We pick up compost from the restaurants, and every now and again there's some really nice fresh greens on top that the birds will love, you know, so they're kind of getting a good balanced diet of everything that's on the farm, plus their hen scratch. Well, a big part of it is the whole coop is fenced in. You know, last year I had some grizzlies in the yard. They were asking me to use an electric fence, and I kind of just declined and just made sure that they couldn't get access into the birds. If it's caged in inside, if they have someplace safe to go inside where they're not gonna, it's usually fine. Every time we go out to Cowley. A gentleman has a farm called Meloff Farms. It's called Hen Scratch, so it's a mixture of a whole bunch of different, there's wheat, there's oats, there's barley, there's alfalfa, there's oyster shells in it, so it's a really well balanced mixture for the girls. I buy 20 bags. I usually buy 20 bags, will last me for a month, and I have roughly just under 100 birds. Well, we talked about the wildlife, like coyotes and stuff you had mentioned before. We have quite a few bald eagles around here that have been swarming my nest. It's actually my coops. So it's covered exterior-wise outside with chicken wire. Inside it's basically a nice shed with, you know, it doesn't go to below freezing in there. They don't like to be any hotter than 75 degrees, and they don't like to get any colder than 75 degrees for optimal laying temperature, as they say. They don't really like the snow all that much. Chickens have very tender feet, so if their feet freeze, then you have an issue with the bird itself. Again, it's really hard to get certified organic food. That's why I buy my stuff from a gentleman that I know that doesn't use any chemicals. He's been saving his own seed, making his own feed. It makes a big difference for the bird. Birds will get coccidiosis, and then there's really not a lot of vet can do for the chickens, unfortunately. They live and they die. That's basically the life of a bird. Most people that do raise birds for eggs will only keep them 2 seasons, because that's the best time that they lay, and then they usually change their flock over. I have a hard time with that, so I usually keep my birds a little longer. They slow down, and I introduce another flock, and then those ones slow down, and we kind of carry on from there. But it's pretty tough to get rid of somebody that you've been watering and feeding on a daily basis. At least 4 hours a day, you know, by the time I water, feed, harvest, clean the coops, and then takes kids in, and kids seem to love the effect of it. And it's also good for a kid too to understand where the food comes from, you know, and how it actually happens. You know, we actually need water, and we actually need to feed them, and then we can get the egg, and then we can have lunch. I do everything year round. Yes, there isn't a day that you can go away and not take care of the birds. The birds will drink a cup of water per bird a day and eat 2 cups of food a day. I think the biggest thing that I really enjoyed about the birds is the first set of chickens I had were exotic chickens, and I really enjoyed them more than just what I have right now. It's just Eyes and Browns. They're just basically egg layers. They're nothing special. They're a cross between a Leghorn and a Rhode Island Red, which is called an Eyes and Brown, or a sex link. So it's about egg production with this flock that I have right now. So it's about maximizing the egg. Whereas the other birds, they were a little bit very attractive, very pretty, very nice to look at. Well, if you're going to go out and feed them every day, you might as well be something pretty, you know. So, and that's a big part of it. And each different exotic chicken has a different personality. Like, I get green eggs, I get yellow eggs, I get white eggs, you know. So, and that's kind of, I get brown eggs, you know. And that's something nice too. And it's more fun than just kind of having a standard boring white egg that's stamped with a generic stamp on it that says, "Oh, it's an omega-3. 369, you know." Well, if you feed your bird the proper diet, everything comes out in the end. They help on the farm a couple ways. They eat a lot of the insects, bad insects, the butterflies, you know, the cabbage loopers, that kind of stuff. And like I said before, they eat a lot of the the stuff that I don't compost, you know. So like they'll get if I clean basil and I have stem, they get that. So of course the eggs taste like that, you know. So and that's another bonus too, you know. If I have extras, you know, salad greens or weeds, dandelions at this time of year is what the birds really love, and that's what gets them really dark gold yolk and flavor too, you know. So dandelions are so good for us. Yes, they're a weed, but the chickens seem to really like them a lot. Again, I think my I have leghorns and some Rhode Island Reds in the back coop that I got from a friend that had a baby and she didn't want her birds anymore. I find the leghorns are very, because they're purebred, they're very aggressive bird. They're very flighty. They're very kind of okay, you know, like here I am. Whereas my exotics I can touch and I can pet them. They're a little bit more docile. They're also more of a Banty chicken, so I get a smaller egg, but it's still the same size when you crack it in the pan. It's just when you're actually harvesting and cleaning the egg, it's actually really cool when it's just a different color. So birds have all sorts of personalities. Roosters have more, I think, than some of the hens, but
yeah.
Yes. About the time, the commitment that it takes, the expense is another thing. I don't make any money off my birds. It's more a convenience, and it's something to offer the people that come and shop on the farm. A chicken will lay an egg every other day, so it's a pretty tough stewing bird. You know, all you're going to get is soup out of her. You know, there isn't a lot to do. But sometimes when I have too many roosters, we'll have a nice little, you know, roast, that kind of thing. But most of the time, it's just they live until they no longer live anymore. I compost it. We have a large compost that we let sit in the field for 2 years. So every time I clean the coop out, it goes in there. Every time I go pick up compost from the restaurants, that goes in there. So basically, I'm taking a whole bunch of vegetable matter and adding the chicken manure, which is a high in nitrogen. I'm mixing it together, and we're making dirt. Because I know where it came from. I know what's in it, and that's what it's about. Being a certified organic grower, you have to be able to track your stuff, because if something happens, again, we had another scare with tomatoes, a salmonella poisoning in Texas. All the fast food joints were taking all their tomatoes off there, you know, because they don't know exactly where it came from. Well, if that was a certified organic farm, you didn't know exactly where it came from. You know, so conventional farms aren't like that yet, and that's why you document what you do, what kind of farm you have, what you have on your farm. And like again, certified organic grower, handler, processor, so that you know from seed to your plate. From field to fork is our logo, and that's what it means. It's not cheap to do my birds. Every time we go pick up feed, especially because of gas increasing, wheat increased this year because we're using all our grains and stuff for ethanol, you know, which is a good in a way and bad in another way. So, you know, you have to feel that one out. But I spent probably $200 a month on my chicken feed.
Just on the feed? Just on the feed. That has nothing else. That's not time, that's not labor, that's not cartons, that's not... And I buy new cartons every time because my stuff goes into a store. So we finally found some nice paper cartons that are biodegradable, and that's what I'm after. So it's no more styrofoam for this gal.